All for joining us today. I'm Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway. I appreciate you taking the time to be here, particularly our guests. Thank you all for joining us. I'm really glad that we're coming together again to share how the City of Madison is being responsive, proactive, and innovative as we work to make Madison a safer community. You're going to hear today about how we as a Madison community have become stronger through initiatives like the Madison-Dane County Violence Prevention Coalition, which at this point I think is more than a group. We're approaching a movement, providing space where we learn and share and amplify the voices to drive change. You're going to hear how our public health approach has helped us prioritize interventions that help to heal our community as well as prevent violence, because we know that a healthier community is a safer one. You're also going to hear about smart solutions to our community's toughest public safety problems, whether that's implementing crime prevention through environmental design, innovating with stratified policing approaches, or helping our bartenders be partners in late night safety. We are getting creative about how we keep our community safe. One of the things that I want to highlight is the partnerships that are behind this work. So the Madison Police Department is working alongside Public Health, Madison-Dane County, and they are working alongside our Community Development Division, our traffic engineers, and more. And particularly important, they're working with organizations throughout our community. And these partnerships allow us to take a holistic approach to safety in our community. Because it's not just about crime, although we'll talk about that today. It's about safe neighborhoods, it's about healthy families, and it's about people being able to thrive here in the city of Madison, all of which helps keep our community safer. And as you'll see, in large part, these approaches are working. We have some good news to share. We have some things to keep working on, but I am really impressed with the work that city staff are doing, and I want to start out with a big thank you to all of the staff involved and all of our community partners, because it is due to their hard work that we're able to share some of the good news that we're sharing today. We're going to have two presentations. We'll hear first from Police Chief Shon Barnes, and then from the Violence Prevention Unit's Melinda Knuth. So we'll start with the Chief.
Good morning. I want to thank the mayor for her comments. One of the themes that I heard in her opening remarks is partnerships. And I think you're going to hear that throughout the course of my presentation today. Again, my name is Chief Shon Barnes, and I have the honor and privilege to lead the Madison Police Department. For over 30 years, the Madison Police Department has dedicated itself to the ideals of continuous improvement, community policing, and problem solving. We accomplish these goals through partnerships with our community, other city departments, and nonprofit organizations. We also serve Madison through 6 district stations that are located throughout our city. Our department's promise is that we will always reflect the sentiment of the Madison community, and we will seek to build partnerships to prevent crime. We are Madison-centric. These ideals were forged long before my time here at MPD. They were forged by officers and leaders in this community, past and present. Leaders like Noble Ray and Charles Tubbs, and we're pleased to have Chief Tubbs and Chief Ray with us today. 3 years ago, I stood in this very room and committed our department to crime prevention, community engagement, and employee safety and wellness. This is a model that I believe provides a safer Madison. This morning, I want to share some of those current efforts with you. In 2023, our department began the implementation of stratified policing. Stratified policing is a comprehensive crime reduction strategy with a focus on accountability, at all levels within the organization. This simply means that everyone within our organization has a specific responsibility for crime reduction. Everyone, including myself, are held accountable for that responsibility. Together, as a team, our department has developed a specific set of crime reduction goals according to community input. We address these specific set of crimes all while responding to community 911 calls, traffic complaints, attending community meetings, and selflessly serving our community. In 2023, our focal crimes were homicide, aggravated battery, reports of shots fired, subject struck by gunfire, robbery, burglary, theft from motor vehicle, and stolen cars, in addition to traffic safety. Let's take a look at the data. In 2023, our city experienced 10 homicides. That was 4 more than the previous year. A breakdown will tell you that 4 of these were domestic partner related, 3 were intergroup related, 2 were alcohol bar related, and 1 where the victim and the suspect had a prior conflict. This proves to us what we know, which is the biggest predictor of violence is a preceding case of violence. Of these homicides, 8 are cleared. That is a clearance rate of 80%, which is well above the national average. To ensure we address violent crime, we've invested in efforts in crime prevention through our community engagement efforts. For example, our community outreach and resource education officers, or what we like to call CORE, have been conducting weekly programmings with youth throughout our city. Our very own Victoria Rickersham conducts weekly outreach at the Meadowland Apartments. Our officer Scott Beckfield conducts weekly outreach at 7933 Tree Lane. And Officer Candace Enos conducts weekly outreach at the Bridge Lake Point Winona Neighborhood Center. Let's take a look at aggravated batteries. Our aggravated batteries were relatively unchanged year to date, with a slight increase of 0.2%. Of those, 35% of our aggravated batteries are domestic related. 50% of our aggravated batteries occur in a residence. This has been an area of focus during the mayor's biweekly violence prevention meeting with public health, and we were allowed to share this data with her, and we work together in order to prevent some of these crimes from occurring. Let's take a look at shots fired. Now, this is a category that I believe is directly related to a community member's fear of crime. No one wants to live around or listen to the sound of gunfire. But this has been a major focus of the administration since the time I got here, and we take these crimes very seriously. We saw positive reductions in gun crimes last year. The number of people shot decreased by 35%. The number of property damage struck by gunfire reduced by 17%. Self-inflicted gunshot wounds by suicide decreased by 38%. Total gun crimes in our city last year reduced by 19%. There's a lot of work being done out there, and we have to thank our officers for doing this work. As an example, last year we recovered 311 illegal firearms associated with the crime. Let's take a look at robberies. We work very hard to ensure that we are educating and protecting our most vulnerable populations. Our robberies decreased by 4.4% in 2023. That's the lowest value in 11 years. And since 2018, we've reduced robberies by 50%. We're doing a lot of work out there. Work like NPO Ruben Gonzalez, who worked with Detective Ken Mosley and the fraud prevention experts from Summit Credit Union to provide educational coffee with a cop to residents at the Fisher Taft Apartments. This is an excellent example of engaging the business community in preventing crime. Not only were the residents educated on some of the most common financial scams, but they were also connected with resources in the community who can help them avoid becoming victims. Let's take a look at burglaries. As a young child, I recall coming home with my mother one evening to find someone in our home holding our VCR, which I guess was a big thing at the time. I remember the feeling of fear, and I remember the feeling of being vulnerable and not being able to protect my mother at the time. Now, she yelled at this person, and he calmly put down the VCR, which probably weighed about 80 pounds back in those days, and calmly walked out of our home. This is a feeling that I believe no one should have to endure, so we work very hard to prevent burglaries. We've received or have achieved an 11% reduction in burglaries in 2023, a 4% reduction in residential burglaries, and a 28% reduction in commercial burglaries. And this translates to 99 fewer people who had their homes or businesses vandalized or burglarized in the previous year. Reducing victimization in burglaries and any other crime requires community effort. So listen to this. Last July at 1:10 a.m., early morning hours, officers Jessica Sissoko, Joseph Sanders, and Ian Clark responded to a burglary in progress in the 100 block of North Butler Street. A community member called 911 stating that they heard glass breaking and looked out their apartment to see movement as well as a flashlight in the window. At this time, the caller's brother was also walking near James Madison, just a couple of blocks away, and was on the phone with the caller when the glass breaking occurred. The brother started to walk toward the area and observed who he believed to be the suspects of this breaking and entering running from the area. Both brothers were able to give descriptions to the officers, and another one, matching another suspect, was detained a short time later by Officer Sanders. This suspect, or these suspects, had fresh cuts on their hands consistent with the glass break. The suspect was eventually arrested, convicted of criminal damage to property and resisting an officer, and sentenced to probation. This outcome would not have been likely without the assistance of the two community members, thus proving that crime prevention is indeed everyone's responsibility. Special thanks to our community members who assisted the police, the officers who were involved, as well as our burglary crimes unit. Let's take a look at theft from motor vehicle. Thefts from motor vehicle in 2023 decreased by 24%. That is the lowest value in 11 years. In just 2 years, we've reduced theft from motor vehicles by 50%. With efforts like the Midtown District, who observed the rash of theft from autos in the West Washington, Proudfit, and West Main Street area. These officers proactively led a flyer campaign to warn residents of what was happening. The result is that there were no additional deaths from auto because of their efforts. They mitigated the problem before it got worse. As a reminder, please remove all valuables from your vehicles, lock your vehicles, and as I always say, vehicles are not gun safes. Take your guns inside and do not leave them in your car. Let's take a look at stolen cars, something that's certainly been a topic of discussion lately. Last year, we achieved an 18% reduction in stolen cars. Our efforts to decrease stolen cars included our BCU, who assisted with the dissemination of over 240 wheel locks in order to get ahead of the Kia and Hyundai stolen car theme that we saw for the last 3 years in this particular area. As an example, last December, a couple of days after Christmas, Officer Tim Francis, while on proactive patrol, spotted a black sedan pulling out of a car dealership in the 3500 block of East Washington Avenue. Officer Francis noticed another vehicle, a silver Ford Fusion, pulling out of an adjacent parking lot with their lights off. Officer Francis attempted to catch up to the vehicle, but could not safely do so because of the speeds associated with these two vehicles. Per policy, Officer Francis did not pursue, but radioed to other officers in the area the description of these two vehicles. Officer Francis continued his diligent investigation and was able to determine that the vehicles were indeed stolen. Approximately 20 minutes later, Dane County Sheriff's deputies located and made a traffic stop safely on this silver Ford Fusion. The driver of the vehicle had previous arrests for operating a stolen vehicle and open charges for fleeing and eluding an officer. Through investigation and surveillance footage, Officer Francis was able to arrest the driver on numerous charges, including eluding and a party to crime for the theft of the Infiniti, which was subsequently located later in Rockford. You know, I'd like to thank the Dane County Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Barrett for their continued partnership in this regard. Let's take a look at traffic. We continue to focus on what we call the high injury network, which is East Wash, the Beltline, and Mineral Point. We are focusing again on those hazardous moving violations in an attempt to reduce racial disparities, which quite frankly show up in traffic stops involving non-hazardous violations. But we are issuing warnings in those regards. We're still supporting the school safety zone initiatives, and we are responding as well to community member complaints. This slide is just an example of how many complaints we receive per quarter and we respond to. Let's talk a little bit about our traffic safety team. Our traffic safety team will continue to have school safety zones as a priority in 2024. The test officers begin their day at specific schools listed on their rotation calendar, and then they go to the assigned areas. They work closely with traffic engineering and our Vision Zero project to identify when signage is needed and other environmental designs. For the last 4 years, let's take a look at fatalities. We have seen double-digit numbers in traffic fatalities. Last year, we recorded 16 traffic fatalities compared to 14 the previous year. Now let's talk about community partnerships. As you know, we recently crafted about a year ago a vision statement for our department. And that vision statement is very simple, that the Madison Police Department will be the national model for exceptional policing through our commitment to selfless public service, effective community partnerships, and evidence-based policing practices. Effective community partnerships are the centerpiece of our strategy. This includes our sweat equity, working and volunteering in the community, and providing funds for our community partners. Our department current grant initiatives has resulted in $749,000 of total pass-through grant funding for community service organization projects that are active just this year alone, and an additional $195,000 of pass-through grant funding for evaluation and project coordinating services. We are managing close to $2 million in pass-through grant funding to local organizations working to keep Madison safe. Our 2024 reduction goals are to reduce homicides, aggravated battery involving a firearm, shots fired, robberies, burglaries, theft from motor vehicle theft, and we continue to do this by building partnerships with our community. In closing, the city of Madison remains one of the safest cities in America. We are growing fast, and we have to accept that with growth comes opportunity, because without growth, change is not possible. We will continue to seek partnerships with all aspects of our community, city government, businesses, and the nonprofit sector. We will use these partnerships to address the underlying causes of crime and disorder. Now, I've spoken a lot today about partnerships because I think that is the cornerstone of policing. We realize that we're first, but we cannot be alone. That's what 21st century policing means to me. So I want to leave you with a quote as we celebrate the first day of Black History Month. This quote comes from Dr. King, who said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, What are you doing for others? And this is our definition of community policing. I would now like to bring Melinda from Public Health with a special thanks to all the officers, staff of the Madison Police Department.
Okay, I don't know if I can get that down, but that's okay. All right. Good morning. My name is Melinda Knuth. I am the current Violence Prevention Supervisor for the Violence Prevention Unit at Public Health Madison and Dane County. I am excited to be here today on the first day of Black History Month to provide an update of the work we are doing at Public Health to help ensure that everyone has the opportunity to thrive in our community. I want to thank the leadership and staff at the Madison Police Department for their commitment to public safety, which includes, as noted by the Chief, working closely with our department, knowing that the safe, healthy, welcoming community cannot be achieved by law enforcement alone. I also want to thank our mayor for her commitment to inclusive, innovative, and responsive approaches to violence prevention and intervention. 2023 has been a significant year of growth for the violence prevention and intervention efforts led by Public Health. I would like to spend some time reviewing the successes of this year and talk about where we are headed as we enter 2024. In 2021, the City and County released the Roadmap to Reducing Violence, which can be found on the Public Health Madison and Dane County website. The current roadmap is the result of significant effort across multiple sectors, gathering information, expertise, data, and feedback to develop a strategic plan to address and prevent violence based on the best information available and our local factors. Our office has been tasked with coordinating efforts to implement the strategies of the roadmap and currently to award funds from the American Rescue Plan Act based on those strategies. To date, we have awarded just under $800,000 in funding to local organizations doing the work to support community healing, increase capacity, and elevate leaders. The process for identifying strategies to support has been completed through a collaborative effort with the help of our Madison and Dane County Violence Prevention Coalition. I would like to take a few moments to lift up the organizations and their work. So Goal 2 of the roadmap focuses on supporting community engagement with children, youth, and families. We are currently supporting work being done by Urban Triage and Operation Fresh Start. Both of these programs focus on teens and young adults, meeting them where they are, and helping provide the support and skills to pursue their goals. Goal number 3 focuses on strong neighborhoods. One of the tenets of violence prevention is the idea of social cohesion. Social cohesion is the bond that ties our neighborhoods together. It's a key element in violence prevention and reduction. To build social cohesion, it's critical to increase engagement, leadership, and ownership of community events among the wider community. These organizations are doing work across our city and county that is nurturing the seeds for healthy communities. It has been exciting to provide funding to very small groups like Moms on a Mission, who has a representative here today, who's a group of mothers at East High School who responded to violence that occurred at the school during open lunch period when students had returned after COVID-19. They saw and supported these young people, and this has had an impact on violent incidences and feelings of connections at the school. YWCA, while not a small organization, is able to engage in transformational restorative work in our schools. Dear Diary is nurturing and elevating young Black women as leaders. The African Community Development Center is working with African immigrants experiencing domestic violence, and the Meadowood Community Partnership continues to bring folks in their neighborhood together to gather, break bread, learn, and find solutions together to community issues. We know that persons impacted by violence are more likely to engage in violence themselves or to be victimized again in the future. We also know that trauma can impact our health and our opportunities. So Goal 4 of the roadmap focuses on intervention and healing. Through our funding, we are supporting several innovative approaches to community and individual safety and healing, with most of these programs addressing a need where there has been a gap. RCC funding supports victims of sexual violence with financial expenses that cannot be supported by our state crime victim compensation fund. Allied Wellness Center built upon a community-led effort to hold responsive, multi-generational healing circles. Unidos is able to support the Latino community to break the cycle of domestic violence, end sexual assault, and promote healthy family systems. Madison Public Library Making Justice program is a community-focused art-based learning program for at-risk teens. This work would not be possible without the collaboration and connection of the Madison-Dane County Violence Prevention Coalition. The coalition is a constant evolving gathering of people and organizations engaged in work related to violence intervention and prevention. The coalition meets quarterly as a full group and additionally as ongoing work groups focused on specific needs. The coalition provides opportunities for organizations to learn from one another's successes and challenges and to find opportunities to collaborate and amplify the voices of those impacted by violence. Public Health also provides grant coordination for the Isthmus Safety Initiative. This information is supported by the Federal Burn Criminal Justice Innovation Grant, whose core elements focus on community engagement and building partnerships and enhancing trust across sectors and with neighborhood residents and leaders. The ISI focuses on the prevention of sexual and gun violence in the downtown area, primarily State Street and the surrounding streets. The action plan was developed through the efforts of a broad-based advisory council that met throughout 2020 and 2021. Using available data and information gained from the experience of the council, they selected 3 strategies for implementation. The first is crime prevention through environmental design, or CPTED. It focuses on changing the physical environment to reduce the likelihood of crimes being committed. So far, during the grant, our focus has been on addressing some specific elements in the target area. However, as we move into 2024, we will be bringing hands-on learning opportunities to our city staff and downtown residents and business stakeholders related to CPTED and how to work together to design safe, welcoming, and flourishing environments. It will be exciting to bring these concepts to life as our city continues to grow. Bartender awareness training empowers individuals to be able to notice, identify, intervene safely in situations. Targeted training groups include, but are not limited to, bartenders, other bar and restaurant staff, students, youth groups, and business owners. We are partnered with RCC and Focused Interruption to provide this training that certifies an establishment as a safer bar. Upon certification, the establishment can be identified by the Safer Bar sticker prominently displayed. Staff who have completed the training have expressed appreciation for the fact that the training occurs at the establishment and is tailored to address each place specifically, using the experiences of the staff to help identify real-time issues and receive tailored training to best support the staff and guests. Being a Safer Bar certified establishment provides benefits not only to our community but to the business itself. Investing in a commitment to safety and respect leads to a better work environment for employees, increased satisfaction by guests, and reduces the likelihood that an establishment will be involved in a criminal investigation. As part of our work, we have connected with the University of Wisconsin Violence Prevention staff. Every UW student completes a series of sexual violence prevention training prior to entrance and throughout their time in Madison. A focus of that training is increased awareness and self-advocacy for young people, recognizing that they have the power to choose where they recreate and recognize that they can choose places that value their safety, culture, and their identities. The third strategy of the Isthmus Safety Initiative is outreach and response specialists. Public Health currently employs 2 outreach and response specialists who are working in our downtown area and working with our downtown community partners to provide a non-law enforcement presence in the State Street area. So far, I have focused externally on the people and organizations doing the work across the city and county. I want to briefly lift up the violence prevention team at Public Health and give you a sense of who we are and the work we are doing. Our team started as an idea. Eventually, there were 1 to 2 staff focused on the work, and now we have a unit that allows us to focus on both direct intervention, community engagement, and upstream prevention. This allows us to recognize and do the work as an ecosystem, supporting individuals and families experiencing violence, but following those connections to the relationships, the direct and the broader community, and then to our systems. As part of our work, we convene the Community Safety Intervention Team, CSIT. This is a multi-agency group of key stakeholders who come together to share pertinent information on community violence. Our goal is to address and prevent individual, community, and retaliatory violence. So what is next? As we move into 2024, we are excited to increase the capacity of our team being able to have staff and leadership to focus on violence intervention and build on the prevention and upstream work. We're excited to deepen our relationships with coalition and community members and our stakeholder partners. Thank you.
All right. So thank you, Chief and Melinda, for giving us that briefing. I also, again, want to thank all of the staff that are involved in this work. As you can see, it takes a large number of people to promote safety in our community. And I do also want to thank the Common Council for their support of these efforts and the funding behind them. And I want to recognize that Alder Martinez-Rutherford is here with us. Thanks for joining us, Alder. As you saw, this is about partnerships. It's certainly about law enforcement, but it's also about violence prevention, a public health approach, and involving our entire community to make sure that everyone has a stake in keeping our community safe. I do want to lift up the roadmap to reducing violence that Melinda mentioned that public health has taken ownership over. Enacting that roadmap has been a team effort, and I want to thank the organizations that are involved in the coalition and those organizations that have received funding from the Violence Prevention Unit to bring that roadmap to life. Real heroes like the Moms on a Mission who have stepped up to nurture our community's youth. One smile, one snack, or one hug at a time. These moms, I don't think they're actually all moms, but these Moms on a Mission are out there in our community making Madison a safer place. Everyone can help promote safety in our community, whether that's being a mom on a mission, volunteering for another organization working on violence intervention or violence prevention, or just supporting these organizations that are doing the work in our community. And as you saw, we are seeing the results of our efforts in real time, with the lowest robbery rates in over a decade and significant drops in burglaries. The numbers are telling us that our community is safer and that our strategies are working. But again, everyone can help. Please take prudent action to make sure that you're not a victim. In particular, as the chief said, please make sure that you are properly securing any firearms in your home in a gun safe and not leaving them in your car. One of the trends that we really want to prevent is the theft of firearms from cars and their subsequent use in our community. And this is something that everyone can help us with. We are, as you heard, using funds from the American Rescue Plan Act to support local organizations. And we are putting our money where our mouth is, but I want to say a big thank you to President Biden and Senator Baldwin for making those funds available to our community in the first place so that we could use them for violence prevention. We know that there is still much more work to do. We are seeing disturbing trends in homicide rates, and as you saw, that's largely driven by domestic violence and interpersonal conflict. I want to be 100% clear on this. 10 homicides is 10 too many. 1 would be too many. This is a top priority for us to work on the root causes behind these crimes, and in particular, to pay attention to the fact that too many of them are the result of domestic violence. We are supporting the work that MPD is doing to clear these homicides, but I think it's also important that we're supporting the CARES teams to improve mental health throughout our community, and the organizations, and you saw many of them talked about in the briefing, that are working with survivors of domestic violence to prevent future violence and to make sure that they're safe. Again, everyone can help. Help us support survivors and help us support the organizations that work with them to prevent domestic violence. And while we are doing better than many communities around the country in terms of dangerous driving and traffic safety, we do continue to see that we need to reduce hazardous driving in our community. That's a top priority, and we're working hard through our Vision Zero efforts to couple enforcement with education and with infrastructure change so that our streets will be safer. Here again, everyone can help. Please help us create a culture of safe transportation in Madison. It is up to all of us to reduce traffic violations and violence. You've heard a lot about the investments that the city is making to get to the root of our toughest problems, using data, using evidence-based strategies, enforcement, intervention, and prevention solutions. It is important that we take that balanced approach. We need to be investing in all of those things so that we can deal with violence as it happens in our community, but we can also prevent future violence from happening. I want to thank again our partners in this work. I want to thank the chief in particular for his innovative approach. He has really brought data-informed and evidence-based approach to policing in Madison, and again, I think you can see that it's making a difference. I also want to thank the entire Violence Prevention Unit and the work that they're doing to intervene and prevent violence, to get to those root causes. And I want to thank our community partners. This is something that, again, everyone has a role in keeping our community safe. And so thank you to all of the folks across the city that are helping us to do this work. Our work is not done. We're committed to pushing forward with inclusive, innovative, and evidence-based approaches to keeping our community safe, because every step forward means a safer and more vibrant Madison for everyone. I want to thank you all again for being here, and I think we have time to take a few questions, so I'm going to bring up the Public Information Officer from MPD, Stephanie Fryer, and the Chief and Melinda, and we can take a few questions from the media, if there are any.
Yeah, we're looking into those. We have two. What I can tell you is that we believe we may have a suspect identified in that. We think that there may have been some targeting, specific targeting of these folks. And once we clear it, we'll definitely update you on that. But at this point, we don't believe that there's an overall danger to the community. However, we're still looking for the suspect, and we'll be able to update you once he's in custody.
Suspect for one or both?
Both.
Both?
Yes.
So they are related?
Yes.
One person.
Yes.
Kind of talking about the trends from car thefts into carjackings. Are you
Yeah.
worried about that trend based on the improvement from 2023, but then getting more violent?
Yeah, that's definitely a fair question. One of the things that I do and my staff, we have to pay attention to national trends and see what's going on in other parts of the country. And we are seeing that in other parts of the country. I was looking at a news story from Washington, D.C. And on carjackings. We're always worried about it, so we try to educate our community. We try to tell people to be aware of your surroundings. The same prevention for stealing a car works for carjackings as well. And so we'll make sure that our detectives and our analysts are looking for these particular clues that may indicate we have a greater problem. And I think that's probably the best strategy for us right now. But right now we're not seeing the trend that other cities are seeing in regards to carjackings.
When it comes to homicides, I know you mentioned that a lot of these are either domestic or targeted incidents. What does that tell you guys about working with people and what you can do to prevent domestic violence in households so they don't lead to a tragedy?
Yeah, certainly, it's difficult to control what happens in the privacy of someone's home, just one of the cornerstones of America. But what I can tell you is that a lot of times it starts with mental health and the stressors associated with mental health. We know that our CARES team has been very well received by my department as well as by the city. We know that calling early and often when you see or hear something that could have the potential to become violent is very important. I know that our officers complete detailed reports on any call or case that involves domestic violence, and those cases are followed up with if there's not a criminal element to those. If there's something greater, we provide information for people who may be victims, and we want to do everything we can to ensure that people know that there is help and that there's help out there. One of the things that I really love about the city is that for this particular issue, no one will tell you no. Even if the organization doesn't specialize in domestic violence, I guarantee you they can point you in the right direction. And so it certainly takes a collaborative effort, but we need to make sure we know the warning signs of domestic violence. And most importantly, everyone needs to know that this department takes domestic violence very seriously.
Do you want to add anything? I just wanted to add that, so I agree with everything the chief said, but I also think that we have to pay attention to the prevention factors. And so one immediate thing that is a risk factor is access to firearms. And so I won't give you chapter and verse on how I feel about federal gun law, but it is a red flag. And we need to be able to prevent abusers from having access to firearms, because we know that in a household with a gun and a woman, the woman is less safe. And so that's an important thing for our culture to work on and for our federal government to work on. The other thing I would say is that we have some really great organizations in this town that do work on domestic violence. So if anyone within the sound of my voice is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out for help. Help is available, and we can help you to get to safety. It is also important for our entire community to think about the conditions that reduce the chances of intimate partner violence. And these are things like economic security, housing security, access to employment. Anybody who sees a potentially serious situation where somebody may be in danger of domestic violence or intimate partner violence can get information from places like RCC or DAYS or UNIDOS about how you can intervene or how you can support the victim into being a survivor. So really want to make sure that we focus both on the enforcement but also on the prevention side. And our community is well supported, as the chief said.
Mayor, did you have a response to carjackings, seeing them happen here?
I agree with what the chief said. I think that, these particular incidents, and the chief can speak to this if he wants, I think it's sort of actually questionable to define them as carjacking, since in at least one case the person was in the car. But it's still, of course, always concerning when we see vehicles being stolen, whatever the method is. I have a lot of faith in the work that MPD has done to bring stolen cars down in our community, and I think that we're going to continue to focus on that, and I believe that we'll continue to have good results there.
We have time for one more question back here.
In a completely different note, unrelated, in looking at traffic fatalities, what can you tell us about any sort of tweaks or improvements to Vision Zero and how effective that's been?
Yeah, I will say that one of the things that we do is we have I think, a robust data sharing initiative where we're trying to drill down to the contributing factors of traffic fatalities, where they're occurring, the time of day. I can tell you that we're seeing traffic fatalities later in the evening when our test team has already gone for the day. Obviously, to move them, we would lose some of the school safety zone work, which we think is very, very important. But here's the bottom line. When you are operating a vehicle, it's your responsibility to operate that vehicle and not have your attention undivided. You have to pay attention to your surroundings. You have to pay attention that you're in a very vibrant city where people are running all the time, 30 below zero. I'm not going to be out there, but we have people who do. We have people who enjoy biking to work, and that's excellent. Rain, snow, sleet, you name it, they're out there. I'm not going to be doing that either, but for those people, we have to be courteous drivers, and we have to pay attention to people who are on the road. I think I've got a lot of questions often about should we be teaching driver's ed in schools, and I know that there's at least one high school that's thinking about doing that. I recently heard of a study where they were showing that they were reducing crashes by teaching young folks how to drive earlier, using the school system to do that. I have not read that study, but if that is truly the case, that may be something that we want to look at. People have asked me, should police officers be teaching people how to drive? I'd probably say no. I don't want to teach my son how to drive. He's 15 right now, so I don't want to be in the car with someone I don't know. But it just takes everyone really working together. I think paying attention to our surroundings, even those who are walking or riding bicycles, they have to follow the signs too. But I do think that's something that we have all the resources that we need in addition to community support to make sure that we can reduce the number of injuries and fatalities that we see in a city like Madison.
I would just add that, we are always looking at the data. And one of the foundations of our Vision Zero work is to make sure that when we do have either a fatality or a serious injury crash, that we're considering what were the factors that contributed to that. And so, as the chief said, in often cases, it's in the evening, alcohol or other substances might be involved. There may be an infrastructure change that we can make in that particular place. And so we always look at that. And then we always are updating, where is our high injury network? Where do we need to make further interventions? Again, that's part of the bedrock of Vision Zero. So we will continue to do that. I think, as the chief said, there's some work that we could do on enforcement, but there is also always infrastructure work to be done to make our community safer. And so one thing I will note is that we recently received over $6 million from the federal government to invest in Vision Zero strategies around our community. And that is thanks to President Biden and the bipartisan infrastructure law. So that money will be deployed throughout our community, and hopefully it will help us make improvements and, again, reduce fatality or serious injury crashes. I want to thank you all for coming, the media and all of the folks that are here to support. And thanks again to everybody who's done this great work to help make our community safe. Thank you.
More local news now with Channel 3000 Plus, our free digital streaming service that brings you area news info 24/7 from the News 3 Now team. Channel 3000 Plus. Download it today and watch from your streaming media player or mobile device.